Hello, everyone. Today on Curtains Up, a historical perspective on drama, we're excited to welcome a guest who helps bring stories to life long before the actors step on stage. Joining us today is a scriptwriter for high school and college theater whose work helps shape the stories we see on stage. We're excited to talk about the creative process, collaboration, and the often unseen role of the scriptwriter. Please join me in welcoming Constantine to the podcast. How's it going, Constantine?
Hey Rohan, it is going really good. College, it's always really busy. So anyone who's listening that isn't in college yet, be sure to be prepared for that.
I know college scriptwriting especially must be tough, right?
For sure. I'm currently in the process of like writing up my first script for the this new works festival that UW has, and like It it just thought process getting into that mindset after taking a little bit of a break from playwriting has definitely been a challenge.
Oh yeah, I can already see it. You look very tired as well, but I'm sure it must be like a great script knowing your script writing ability.
It is fun. It's a fun one. I'm probably gonna try and get it done before my break is up and I'm back in UW.
Yeah. Okay, so to get started with the questions, how did you first get started with script writing for theater?
Well, I've always been like interested in like writing stories and like creating characters and worlds and stuff, but In in high school, coincidentally, the same one that you and I go have went to, Eastlake High School, they had a class called Writing for Stage and Screen, and I took that class, and ever since, a lot of my writing has been script writing because I found like sort of like where I could really put my passion and creativity to life in script writing, and I just felt like I could. It felt, in a way, more real than just writing stories that you see in like books and stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like you could also like sort of like see people in those roles because you were in the class, right?
hmm Yeah, and since we got to like read off the lines and act it out, I could like see already like how this thing came to life and what the actors did, and like everything about script writing is just really, really it speaks to me in a way.
Yeah, and then this is actually nice, nice place because you talking about your e-cig experience. What makes writing for high school and college performers different from writing for professional theater, for example?
High school, like writing in high school is like a lot of the times like you're like writing for like you're either writing for the class that did do the script writing, or you're doing like drama fest or senior show. And like for example with the senior show, you all you've got to do is just like work with your fellow seniors, and you can like see how you can like foster a collaborative environment with your peers. And then like also in high school and college, you can also like you should also submit your scripts to festivals and competitions. Like in high school, there's thespies, and that's also good to hear from people who have seen countless amounts of scripts. And so it seems high school and college is definitely like a growing process where you can hone your abilities and in a way find what works and find what you need to work on. It is very much so like preparing you for what awaits in the real world.
And what festivals are there in UW?
Um, Currently there's the New Works Festival, which is for various different forms of art, but one of them is playwriting,
Hmm.
and so I am so that's how I found. You should always look for anything, whether it be in your school or not, because you will find a lot of stuff. I remember my high school theater teacher, Miss Wold. She found a lot of festivals and other competitions, and always send them to people who are interested in writing and put it on Microsoft Teams. So you should always turn to your teacher for resources, because that's the best way to, yeah, that
So
that
do
will
you
help
think?
in high
Oh,
school.
sorry.
It's okay.
Um, this is an important question I was thinking because like I know you talked about sharing your experience in festivals and everything. However, in my experience with festivals, most of the time people pay attention to like the acting and like the musical parts of it. So I guess one thing I want to ask is, do you think scriptwriters are often overlooked in educational theater? And if so, why?
Absolutely. And I think the reason why is because a lot of times like people take things at like face value, so like technical stuff or acting, I think that tends to be focused on more because that's what people see and people sometimes forget like it's not like the actors and the technicians all play huge roles in making the plays what they are, but at the same time I think they overlook the writers because the writers aren't there and they don't see them creating this thing that they did create, which is why which I think it's always, I think, yeah, it's always overlooked, especially in educational theater, because, like, like, so I think people sometimes, like, underestimate us kids and, you know, and how much we can, like, do with a creative mindset. So,
Yeah, no, for sure. And that kind of sucks because scriptwriters are really important. Like without them you won't have a story, right? So like
absolutely.
it's kind of unfair to them. And is there like anything you're doing in UW to sort of like uh get that recognition, or like what's going on there? What are you doing in UW right now?
Right now in UW, besides working on the script for the New Works Festival, like I'm just looking around university for like all the opportunities I can find. Like for example, like again, New Works Festival is a great example, and also just also like I'm also when I have time, besides just working at university, I'm also just looking online for like things that I can participate in that need like writers or like this isn't really pertaining to stage, but I'm also like in a film production club, so I'm trying to write scripts for that. Screenwriting is very different from playwriting though, but I'm also trying to take what I learn
No, what
from,
skills you have and apply them somewhere else?
yeah, I want to like again, I write both screen and stage scripts, so I try to keep both very close together in how they're written.
So then this goes in very nicely, which is my next question, which was what's one challenge you faced as a scriptwriter, and what did it teach you? And do you think screenwriting would apply as a challenge?
Um, well, screenwriting is definitely falls with the challenge that I'm going to talk about here. Like both playwriting and script and screenwriting both have the issue of like deadlines because I so back in last year I was me and a co-writer were writing for Eastlake's senior written, senior produced and directed that show which was a modern retelling of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and that was a fun one. But the deadline, I learned firsthand about deadlines because basically, me and my co-writer kind of slacked off for most of the summer and like wrote like bits and pieces of it, but like we also like were dealing with like the personal matter of like the person who had kind of led this sort of like led the charge of like this sort of like um, project. And once we finally had that sorted out, then we kind of like we had to like scramble for our first draft, and it was like really really not great. We got a ton of pretty constructive criticism on it, and the play was thankfully already delayed because of a scheduling issue, but so it gave us more time, which we were lucky because it helped us write write without having to hit the deadline as closely. So we had time to like go over it and work
Fix
together.
out
But
anything that happened. Yeah.
yeah, like but yeah, challenge the challenge here was just like learning to work with a deadline, especially it's gonna be tough, especially like in high school and college. Like meeting those script deadlines is you always take. I feel like sometimes you take them for granted, and then you're like up against the wall, and you're like, oh no, and all of a sudden like you gotta like bang out like 10, 15 pages.
In like a day or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not really productive. So what I took from the challenge of like having to deal with deadlines is like always trying, always, always trying to write a little every day. Even if you're having a hard time. So like deadlines do matter, and you just gotta keep it in mind and always like think of it when you're writing so that you know how much you have to do like depending on the day.
Yeah. And then that also could be used for like advice you want to give to people who want to start writing plays, right? Like always stay with deadlines. They will always get you whenever you're least expecting them. So I think that's a really good thing to talk about as well, because a lot of people just like in general like deadlines can be set for anything, right? Like any type of work.
Hmm.
So I think it's very important to stick with deadlines because of like how necessary they are and how helpful they are to you to sort of like get things done on time.
Hmm.
And then, what's one thing you wish audiences understood about like the role of a scriptwriter?
I think what audiences really, I wish what they would understand is like it matters just as much as the actors and the technicians. Like without it, like um, where would we be? Like where would we be without having the writing to it? Because like there are some shows because improv exists, but most of the times everything is written, and so like I think people, again, like I said earlier, people always seem to not value writers as much as the actors or the technicians involved.
Yeah, of course, and I think that is something that we need to start talking about, especially, which is how undervalued scriptwriters are, because they
Hmm.
are very important. And just in general, there's so many actors who are like there's no, not actors, but there's so many parts of theater, right? So many moving parts of theater that happen. Yet the only people who get talked about are the actors because that's the only thing people see, right?
Hmm.
So that's a bit of something that we should start talking about in general.
Hmm.
And that's all the questions I had for you. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was really insightful to talk to you about all these important questions and how undervalued scriptwriters feel. Like, we need to start talking about it.
Yeah, it was great to be on here. It's it's quite the journey. And one more thing I do want to say, I do want to have one more thing, like one more
Yeah,
piece
go
of
ahead.
advice for anyone who wants to be a scriptwriter that is listening to this podcast. Like if this is like something that you want to do, like in the future, like always when you have the time, always like write something even when it's not for anything, because then you can like at least get feedback from some people just in your spare time, and then when you have that, then you like constantly like work through the issues you have while writing, but also enhance the strengths you have, and it's a learning process. So so I will say, keep writing if you're really interested in that, and don't be afraid to just do it in your spare time.
Yeah, of course. And one of like I remember I mean this is a pretty popular saying, right? But it's like make it exist first and you can make it better later. That's like the most important thing, because like if you have an idea of a script, right, and it stays stuck in your head, it's going to stay stuck into your head until you write it down. And then once it's on paper, you can add ideas to it later. You can get constructive criticism on it later. You just need to have it exist first.
Hmm.
So I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely that's definitely what I want to impart. That that's what I want to impart onto the audience here, and yeah, it has been great talking with you about this, and yeah, I hope everyone had
Yeah, it
fun
was an awesome
listening.
conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yep, I'm super glad I got to join.
As we wrap up today's episode, we hope this conversation shines a light on the scriptwriters who help bring theater to life behind the scenes. Their words shape the stories we see on stage, even if they're not always in the spotlight. A huge thank you to our guest for joining us today and giving us a behind the scenes look at scriptwriting in high school and college theater. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our guest for sharing your insight and experience. I'll see you all on the next episode.